So, what's the best number? You might think 5, you might think 108. Well, no, the best number is 27.3, obviously, but what's my favourite number? And that number be 288, or 144 times 2. 288 is the hidden number, very in plain sight. And where are some examples? Well, let's look at the harmonic numbers and Pythagorean tuning: 256, 192, 288, 432, 324, 486. D, as in D number, is 288. Now, it just so happens that the Mayans have a love for this number as well. One Pictun, 288, and for 0 days. Cross cultures, cross time, across the world. 288 is the perfect four-dimensional number. So harmonic numbers are nice, but once you look at the four-dimensional matrix, what you actually get is this beautiful harmony going on. And what do I mean by that? 1 to the first plus 4 or 2 to the second plus 3 to the third, 27, plus 4 to the fourth, 256, is 288. 1 to the first plus 2 to the second plus 3 to the third plus 4 to the fourth, 288. But one diagonal, let's go across the other diagonal and multiply. 1 to the fourth times 2 to the third, or 8, times 3 to the second, or 9, times 4 to the first, or 4, 1 to the fourth times 2 to the third times 3 to the second times 4 to the first, 288. 288, and the fourth dimension, beautiful number. It's a tesseract number, hidden in plain sight. I'll show you some examples. But factorials: 1 times 2 times 3 times 4 is 288 as well. 4, hermetic number as well, very interesting. What does this mean? Well, that's 1 factorial, 2 factorial, 1 times 2 is 2, 1 times 2 times 3 is 6, 1 times 2 times 3 times 4 is 24, so 1 times 2 times 6 times 24, 288. It is the perfect number. 153 is the lowest narcissistic number. 1 to the third plus 3 to the third plus 5 to the third is 153. But married to the number 153, as in 153 fish in the net, the square root of 153 is the number of full moons per year. Well, 2 to the third plus 4 to the third plus 6 to the third is 288. In math, in geometry, it is, as defined by nature. You can't change these rules. It's built into the universe. 288. Beautiful, perfect number. Which brings us to ancient units of measurement and the sun. Here comes the sun. Well, 1 league, or 3 miles, the diameter of the sun, mean diameter, 86,400 miles, is 288,000 league. That's an ancient unit of measure, but most people call that relatively modern, but it's quite ancient. But ionic, as in ionic columns or Ionian music scales, rods. So 1 rod is 16.5 feet. In ionic rods, diameter, size of the sun, 288 in ionic is ancient unit of measurement. Another ancient unit of measurement, Persian, or the long scale, cubits, 288, the sun. So the sun, 288, a measure of length. Now, weights and measures is more than just weighing the weight of something or measuring, because you also measure temperature. This will connect exquisitely first to 273, but how does that connect to 288? Well, the average temperature of the Earth is 288 Kelvin. Now, the temperature of the Earth has gotten so politicized that but anyway, 288 Kelvin, average temperature of the Earth. Weights and measures. So 345 triangle, very important in Freemasonry, going back to the Pythagorean schools. A 345 triangle, back to ancient Egypt and the pyramids, and to Karnak in France, and to all these ancient sites. 345 triangles, Pythagorean theorem. How does that connect to 288? Well, 3, 4, 5. So 4 is 288, 3 is 216, and 5 is 360. Well, you could say I'm fiddling, but well, let's have a look further and deeper. Isaac Luria, connected to Kabbalist, and Genesis 1, 2, as he teaches, 288 fallen sparks in regards to creation. So it's very important in esoteric Kabbalist tradition, also course, Freemasonry. So, pentagon. 72 degrees is a hard angle, leaving 288 degrees on the outside. Again, linking 108, 72, 36, 54, all these other beautiful numbers joined. But then we look at the pentagram itself. So, top, 360, 72 degrees, 144, 216, and 288 degrees. How does that connect? Brings us back to the 345 triangle. Decodes everything. It's written into these cryptographers of old, and the Masons, and these old esoteric guys, written this beautiful universal laws of math and geometry. You can't mess with them. It's divine as it's built. It underlies the universe. It's a universal law. Can't change it. It is, well, 288, 216, 360. So back to the pentagon. 360, 288, 216. 360, 288, 216. 345 triangles. Did a whole series on the importance of the pentagon and the pentagram and the numbers connected to them. Also, so you could say, well, that's 360 degrees. That's arbitrary. Even look at it in any unit of measure. It comes back to beautiful phi proportions, beautiful proportions. Doesn't really matter what unit you measure it in. But why did they choose 360 degrees? That's a good question. It's also a Harshad number. So we see 36, 360, 3 plus 6 is 9. You can divide that evenly. It's a Harshad number. It's recreational math theory. 72, 7 plus 2 is 9. 144, 1 plus 4 plus 4 is 9. 216, 2 plus 1 plus 6 is 9, Harshad. And then you get to 288. That does not equal 9, it equals 18. Still a Harshad number, though. 288 divided by 18 is 16. Beautiful numbers, beautiful proportions, beautiful stuff. Now, it's built into the sacred architecture. I could go into other sites, but let's just look. The Capitol building in Washington is 288 feet high. The Mormon temple in Washington is 288 feet high. Above the Canberra ACT in Australia, that's the Australian version of Washington DC, in a legal sense, in an architectural sense, in a symbolic sense. In the very centre, on the top of Parliament House here in Canberra, is this pyramid, and it is made up of 288 triangles in total, 72 on each face, 4 faces on a pyramid, 288, which brings us to Siena Cathedral in Italy. The cathedral, 288, the tower. The cathedral is the centre of religious power. The tower is the centre of secular power. Both of them were built at exactly the same height, which just happens to be 288 feet, as a representation of equality between the church and secular power. So, sun, 288, 288, 288. The temperature, 288. Fourth dimensional numbers, 288, even 1 plus 11 plus 21, 31, 41, 51, 61, 71, 288. Mayan, musical scales, geometry, 288's all over the place. Now, back to Siena Cathedral. Symbolic of the cathedral, symbolic to the tower, equality between the church and state authority. Already mentioned the Mormon Tower was built at the same height as the Capitol building, which I think is a little cheeky nod to Siena, as in the equality between church and state. Now, this is the rotunda in the Capitol building in Washington. That's 96 feet wide. 96 feet is 288 hands. Union Station in Washington, D.C., by the very important architect who was Daniel Burnham, who was the founder of the City Beautiful movement. He redesigned the Washington Mall and other aspects of Washington. Union Street Station, 96 feet high. That's 288 hands as well. Now, harmonics, but you could go, so fourth dimension, but 288. Now, back to Siena Cathedral, Hermeticism. This is on the floor of Siena Cathedral. Well, you got your nice little symbols going there. But who is this figure? Hermes Mercurius Trismegistus. Thoth, Hermes. Even notice the griffins going on there, the sphinxes, but Hermetic symbolism carried on throughout the ages, built into ancient systems of weights and measure, sacred architecture, both ancient and modern. And, okay, so, well, just so happens that the Arc de Triomphe the arches just happen to be 96 feet, just like you see in Washington, just like you'll see across the world. Well, that's 288 hands, and at 72 feet deep, Arc de Triomphe, that's 288 palms. This is a number that's built in and hidden in plain sight. Well, I also already showed the Rotunda in Washington, U.S. State Capitol, 288 hands. Manitoba Legislative Building. It's a cube, the Lieutenant Governor's reception room. The only building which visitors are not allowed to enter. It's to receive high officials. It's a cube, which just sort of happens to represent the Holy of Holies in the Temple of Solomon. And that just happens to have the edge length, 288 inches, and the perimeter, 288 hands. Again, 96 feet. So, 288. 144, beautiful number. 108, 216, 432, 864, beautiful numbers. But 288 is this hidden in plain sight. And of the harmonic numbers, it is by far my favorite because it is, well, perfect in four dimensions. And that's what, and again, factorials, math, geometry. I also find connections in astronomy as well. Just, if you want to take a little bit further, just look into 288. The sun, ancient units of measure, conversion between weights of measure as in measuring temperature, 3-4-5 triangle, Pythagorean schools, the Freemasonic 3-4-5 triangle, which is an essential in construction geometry math. It's the 3-4-5 triangle is a decoder key that you'll see. Peter Amundsen as well, he looked into the folio of Shakespeare and Francis Bacon, Oak Island and other places, and the 3-4-5 triangle is your key to decoding the tree of life. Other aspects, it's just been the genius of these people to encode this information into the geometry, the weights and measures. It's just extraordinary. And Kabbalist tradition linking back to biblical connections as well, and just the beauty of the system of the numbers connected through Hermes, Thoth, Nuar and Phuzi, these gods of geometry, astronomy, music and arithmetic. And they've left it to us in plain sight in the architecture and the symbolism, the geometry defined by the universe, not by man, and the numbers, the laws of math and base 10. And just by accident, pure coincidence, that the esoteric centers of the medieval and the modern world just so happens this converts to the ancient world as well. You can use the exact same system to describe ancient systems, ancient temples, stone structures. It's just always repeated in there. 288. Now, all numbers are beautiful. All the harmonic numbers are beautiful as well. But some stand... So 108 is exceptional. 144 is exceptional. 6,912 is exceptional. But 288 is the lesser known, hidden in plain sight, beautiful number of the Hermetic tradition of the esoteric masters of both the past and the modern world. And with that, 288, beautiful number. Have a good one.